Today I want to show you guys my Holy and Evil Stun decks. So these are not combo decks. They basically just play 40 cards. They play a lot of like 5 strength soldiers, maybe some 6s and 7s, things like that. Or 8 cost. And the whole point behind them is you pretty much just play 1 soldier a turn, and then you just protect them with tons of protection spells. And these decks maximize protection spells. I run 2 sleeping potions in each. I probably would run 3 if I had more. 3 contradicts, 3 chain of destruction, Wall of the Forbearance, 2 Exodus. I run 2 body obstruction. Yeah, I mean that's really the whole point of these decks, is just lock down your opponent. And the evil side, C. Passley is the main guy. You run 3 C. Passleys and 3 Arcogs, and you literally just protect them, and your opponent gets locked down. Like, they can't do anything. They're extremely frustrating decks to play against when you're using a combo deck that likes to draw and rally a lot of soldiers. So let me go through here and show you like a full deck list. I actually just built this Holy Stun deck last night, just to try out something different, and it has not lost yet. And also, the Evil Stun deck has not lost yet. And I'm going to go through here and explain my choices for all of these cards in the Holy Stun deck. In terms of price, it's really not that expensive, but a lot of these rares can be kind of hard to get if you haven't bought a lot of cards, but it will give you ideas for things to collect down the road. And the Holy Stun deck is a little bit interesting because the Evil Stun deck runs 0 draw power, but the Holy Stun deck actually runs quite a bit. It's a decent amount that you can filter through your deck pretty quick, so it's actually kind of neat, and I'm going to get to that in just a sec. Okay, so for Angels, I run 4. I actually took out Haniel last night, the one that draws 3 and discards 2, because it's just too risky of an opening play. This deck really isn't focused around greater beings, but because I have some ways to replenish and some ways to, protect my greater beings, I think it's still probably worth it to run them. But there was one game when I opened like 3 and it crippled me really bad. So you actually don't need a lot of greater beings for either of these decks. In fact, you probably be okay not running any of them. Just because of the strongest soldiers in the game doesn't mean that you have to play them in your deck. And it's going to be hard for people to grasp at first because they're shiny and they're strong, but they're very high risk. And these control decks do not like playing high risk cards. They like to play slow, defensive, just slowly whittle away at your opponent and prevent them from going off until you win. So I run these 4 Angels, and then we do 3 Renee. This card is insanely good because she only costs 2, 5 strength, and she has a built-in Candle the Hopeless. She can prevent herself from being destroyed once per turn. It's really, really annoying when your opponent is just playing these big beaters that are, tough to destroy, and you have to get over them. And it's very, very defensive, very strong offense. Just a really solid card, and it's so cheap. It only costs 2. If you have Church of Dominus out, this thing costs 1, and it's a 5 strength that can protect itself. It's absolutely insane. Next, 3 Pavana. She's basically the heart and soul of the deck. Costs 7, which is important because that still leaves you 1 to Candle and 2 left to, contradict. And that's basically the what you want to do with these decks. Play like these 5 to 7 cost soldiers so that you still have like 2 to 3 or 3 left over, or 5 to 3 left over. Anyway, you could if you play a 5 like Proud Bear, you can chain the destruction. But it's all about like comboing the cost of your soldiers versus the cost of the protection spells in your hand so that it equals 10. Right? So if you play Pavana and you have Candle and Body Obstruct or Candle and Contradict in your hand, you're going to be in really good shape. And what she does is every time she destroys a soldier, you draw 1, replenish 1. If you keep her out on the battlefield for multiple turns, she just gives you a devastating advantage over your opponent. And it's just brutal. Like she's strong, she draws, and the great thing about her is that 1 replenish is so good. Even though it's only 1, it can go so far, which is actually the reason that I run Kushiel as well, because if you don't have any plus Imperium limit and you play Kushiel, if they don't have destruction right away, like say they have to attack over her, they have to rally some soldiers, and then you're going to get to replenish a couple, and then you can Candle to protect her. So she can be pretty devastating. But yes, Pavana extremely powerful soldier in the deck. Do not overlook her. Then I play one Primal Bear. I had two. I cut it down to one. He's really good against evil decks that run things like Heinous Wolf or Hellspawns, the combo off, Keystop Skeleton Warrior, and Cemetery Hunter, Bad Bat. He also is pretty good against holy decks that run things like the Pearlhawk OTK. So this guy will help you a lot with that. Plus, he can double his attack when he fights a stronger soldier. So especially if you buff him up with like something like Tower of Babel, you can make him like 14 strength and get over a greater being. So he has his uses, but he's probably more of a side deck card, but you could main one, which is what I'm doing, just to be annoying. And then I play one Augustus. This guy is starting to get better and better the more I play with him. The main combo with him is that you have Renee and Augustus. You can play these for 6 total. You'll have 4 left for your protection spells in your hand. And any attack, if they try and attack Augustus, you redirect it to Renee and then use her effect to protect herself. And it's super annoying. It just gives you this kind of like wall that's incredibly hard to get over. Plus, he gives you plus Imperium limit as well. But the main combo here really is Augustus and Renee. Very strong together. Then I play 2 Dorn, and that's just going to bring online any of these soldiers. I mean, if you Dorn into Bavana, attack 1, draw 2, or draw a card and replenish 1, you basically just played 2 soldiers for 4 Imperium and drew a card that literally just replaced everything you played. Like, you literally got these 2 soldiers out for free, essentially, if you go Dorn Pavana. But he's also good for getting, Renee and any of your other targets. But the main one you really want to get is Pavana, because you just keep drawing with her. It's really strong. And that's the difference between this deck and the evil stun deck, is this deck actually has draw power, which it makes it a little bit more fun. So let's talk about that draw power. 3 prayer beads, right? You should probably be running 3 prayer beads in any holy deck. And, with all these 2, 4, 5, 7 cost soldiers, you can always play them and then prayer beads and then use Sorin's effect or whatever. I run Tower of Babel. It's just making your soldier stronger is just so good in this game. It's a permanent buff for all your fighters, and it's really strong. The same with Church of Dominus. And I actually probably want to bump this up to 2. If you draw another one, you could always just discard it with Sorin's effect. But it's getting this thing out early is so devastating. It just accrues so much advantage over a time period. So I definitely run at least 1, probably 2. And then I'm teching 1 Divine Intervention, which I might also bump up to 2. Because Exodus costs 4 now, people are starting to experiment with different protection spells, and this is one of them. One of the best things you can do is they rally a greater being and you just, boom, put it back to your hand and they're exhausted. And that can be completely devastating. You could literally just attack for game the next turn. It can also return your own soldiers to your hand if you want to reuse Dorn, is pretty broken. It has a lot of uses. And the main thing is, only costing 1 with Church of Dominus, it's free. It's a literal free protection spell. And that's why I think like if you ran maybe 2 or 3 churches and 3 divine interventions, you can just literally play free protection spells. That's pretty damn insane. And so I'll probably end up bumping up both these cards. And remember, you can always, if your opponent's soldier tries to activate an effect, you can always divine intervention to return to the hand and it won't get the effect. So it has a lot of uses and a lot of versatility. Yes, it's like a -1 technically, but it can win the game a lot of the times. So now let's go over to neutral spells. 3 Ancient Coins. So in any Sorin deck, you should be running 3 Ancient Coins. It's just free draw power. It's an extra draw every turn that you have it. And, basically you play Pavana, you Sorin, you discard this, you draw again. So you just drew 2 and then you attack with Pavana, you draw again. It's like you draw 3 cards in a turn in a stun deck. It's pretty damn nasty. For protection, 3 Contradicts. Right now the meta is 3 Contradicts, and I think everybody probably should be running 3 if you have them. 2 Body Obstructions. 2 seems to be a pretty good number. I think when I go to 3, I start to clog a little bit, so 2 seems to be pretty good. I run 3 Chains of Destruction. So I don't run Lightning Blast anymore. I just run 3 chains in like most of my decks. If it's a combo deck, I'll probably run 2. But this guy destroys this card destroys anything, including their structures. It can stop soldier effects by destroying it before it gets the effect off, and obviously greater beings and stopping their combos. So it's your main source of destruction. And then I play 3 Candles because you run a very low soldier count. So you want to keep all your soldiers alive. That's very important. 2 sleeping potions, probably would run 3 if I had more, but I have 2 in each of my stun decks. I only own 4 of them. And 2 Exodus, by the way, we modified this card, so it will be changed in the beta print. It now costs 4, and it only negates their effect while they're on the battlefield. So once they go to the cemetery, their effects will activate again. Any card like Angels, Blessed Cat, Hellspawn, anything that gets Exodus, once it hits the cemetery, its effects turn back on. And like, for cemetery effect soldiers. And that also matters for if you resurrect it with something like Dorn, it will get its effects back. I have a bunch of reasonings for doing that, but the main thing is this card was just way, way, way too broken, and I had to modify it. So still run 2. It's still insanely good. But it's way more balanced now. 2 Law of the Forbearance. I think I might take these out. They seem to work better in the evil stun deck. Maybe I'll put another Divine Intervention and another Church of Dominus for those 2. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be times when they're trying to OTK you or try and run over your soldiers. And again, because you run very minimal soldier count, having protection for them is amazing. And, you keep your Pavana alive, and then she just keeps killing stuff and drawing. It's really broken. And the other thing is it prevents you from getting one turn killed by Pearlhawk Wolf OTK with Rope of Binding Hearts. And then 1 Pristine Coffin. I think people should run 1 in any deck, maybe even 2. It just catches people off guard, and they just get completely obliterated. So this card is really good. I know it's expensive. The only thing you can really play with this is like Renee or Augustus, I guess. But it just, man, when you catch people off guard and you pop 2, they just get crippled big time. So that's the Holy Stun deck. I think it's 40 or 41 cards, but still has a little bit of work to do. I literally just built it last night, but it didn't lose. Even when it drew bad, it still won. And then, so let's talk about the Evil Stun deck. This deck is undefeated. I've played probably 20 matches with this thing. It just dunks on everyone. I had 1 very, very close game with this against Brandon, who has Adriel, and he has a really powerful Holy deck. And I barely won, but I did win. And here is the deck list for the Evil Stun. So I play 5 Greater Beings in this. I could probably cut this down. I think I might take out Gorgon, probably, if I was going to cut anything out. This deck doesn't have any way to replenish or increase Imperium limit. I play no structures in it, so these are always going to be risky plays. But because they waste so many resources trying to get rid of C. Pasley and Arcog, usually you can put some heavy work in with these Greater Beings. So maybe it still takes some play testing, maybe remove Gorgon, but this deck can run Evil Greater Beings, even though it doesn't have replenishment or Imperium limit. But it can't run Kulsu because there's no 3 strength or less targets. So you really don't need Kulsu for this deck. Next up, we got the Heart and the Soul of the deck, 3C Pasley. This guy is so damn strong. And basically, they can't rally soldiers with 4 strength or less because they'll just get immediately destroyed. If you keep him on the battlefield and protect him, you win the game. It's really that simple. He is just, he's basically a 9 strength because he reduces all enemy fighters' soldier strength by 2. And it prevents them from OTKing. It prevents them from comboing. He's just like the best anti-meta card right now. He is the stun card. He is a mythical rare. He's very sought after right now. If you have this guy, put him in your deck. He is amazing. And then next is the other Heart and Soul of the deck, the 3 Arcogs. And the thing is, if you have C. Pasley and Arcog out to protect them with like a Contradict and a Candle in your hand, it's game. It's like nearly impossible to get over it. The only thing you could really do is like maybe rally Zagkeel. Well, no, they just Candle. And then they try and attack and you negate it. And then you have to pass your turn. And then I kill you. So these guys as a combination are insanely broken. See, Arcog, when it goes to the cemetery, you can protect yourself, so it makes the deck tanky as hell. And yeah, I think the Evil deck feels stronger just because the combo of these 2 being out, it's kind of like the Augustus and Renee combo, but like on steroids. This combo is just nasty. Next up, I run 3 Malicious Ghosts. So these guys have been putting in some serious work. I was trying to figure out what I could run instead of this. You could run Ravana, the Black Priest, which I actually have in my side deck right now. She's basically a mini Mini C. Pasley, where she can on either turn destroy a 4 strength or less soldier by paying 2 Imperium. She only costs 2. Don't overlook this card too. I literally could take these guys out for 3 Ravana's, but 4 costs for 5 strength and it draws cards when it destroys a soldier, which does happen pretty often, is actually really nice. And this deck does need some sort of draw power. And as soon as you destroy 1 soldier, this card is a floater, and if it stays out in the field, he continues to draw, kind of like Pavana does. So he's been working out really well. And same with Destructive Basilisk. So this guy's expensive. He costs 7, but when you destroy a soldier, you replenish 4. And what's cool about that is you can play him for 7, destroy a soldier, you replenish 4, which will equal 7 left. And you can play another one, destroy him, then you replenish 4, and then you could rally a ghost, destroy, and draw a card. So he actually opens up a lot of plays. You could also rally him, destroy a soldier, and then play C. Pasley. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these basilisks. They are actually pretty damn nice. Like replenishing 4 Imperium with this guy feels really good. And then the stun spell, the spells are pretty much the same thing as the last deck. 3 Contradicts, 2 Body Obstruction, 3 Chains, 3 Candles, 2 Sleeping Potions. Right now I have 3 Exodus. I'd probably take one of these out for a 3rd Sleeping Potion. 2 Law of the Forbearance. I feel like it's stronger in this deck than it is in the Holy deck. I guess because the Holy deck's draw power, it's easier to draw into like protection, and I was just rarely using these. 1 Cosmic Energy. This card is very underlooked right now. It is very, very good for destroying their big soldiers, their Arcogs, their own C. Pasleys, their Pavanas, anything like that. So I run 1, and this thing puts in some work. The 1 Pristine Coffin, and then the 1 tech Weight Stone. And the reason I want to run the Weight Stone is, man, they rally a bunch of stuff and they attack into your C. Pasley, and they do not ever expect the Weight Stone. And the cool thing about it is if they team attack into your guy and you Weight Stone and make it stronger than their team attack, all their soldiers die. So this is a really nice tech card. Running 1 seems to work really, really well. It feels like it makes your hand feel really safe, like you feel protected when you have it, because they can't, like if you're at 0 Imperium, they just don't ever expect it and they just walk right into it. It's really nice. And then the final 2 cards are 2 Dark Cubes. So I feel like I'm the only person who plays this card, and that's because Dark Cube is with the exception of Seance, is the only card in the game that can search C. Pasley. So your main 2 targets are going to be C. Pasley and Arcog. If they have a Renee out, you can Dark Portal or you can Dark Cube and get out your Arcog. And if they have a Pavana or any big guy out that's not a greater being, you can get your C. Pasley. And a lot of times I'll Dark Cube, get out C. Pasley, and it wipes out like half their board. So it's pretty nasty. Sometimes it's a dead card in your hand and you can't use it, but I feel like I use it about 70% of the time, and it's pretty damn good. I mean, just being able to rally an Arcog from your deck is really, really nice. It's just a big level of protection, and this prevents you from needing any kind of draw power in the deck. So yeah, those are the 2 stun decks. Remember, like, you don't have to combo, and you don't have to run greater beings. The main thing is just shut down your enemy's combos. And these decks play extremely slow, and I feel like stun versus stun would actually be a really fun, long match between these 2 decks. So I hope you guys enjoy. Maybe it'll give you some ideas, and I'll see you on the next video.